Good morning, everybody. This is Chrissy from SolsticeATR and Balkan Capital Research. What I'd like to do is go over a couple of different instruments as well as equities today for us and hope everybody's enjoying their summer break and 4th of July weekend. Let's start by looking at the SPX and the SPY and the Fortune 500 company. That's the SPX. What I'd like to show you is this. This is the daily chart um, on the SPX. But if you look at it, I have drawn a channel from this area to the top. It's got a long way to go. And if you draw on a weekly chart, a channel, it shows you a little differently trend. I grabbed the nearest high, you had prior high, a higher high. Then we had a one which broke up, and eventually this is the fourth high up here. Do we continue till 3030 in order to get a rejection? What I want to do is zoom in to show you this area, 3030 area, or do we continue parallel to these two channels, which we have a halfway back here to the upper range here before we get a rejection coming back in, or do we lose it on the daily chart? This is something to consider. Keep an eye on it, everybody. If I zoom in from here to the end, we do have a little bit more room to go, but on the daily chart, because we had an up day in the overnight action, and on Friday we got a rejection down in the market, because remember, we had the 4th of July, which was Thursday. Friday, some people were working, some people were not. The market was open. They gapped it up towards the 3,000 almost on the ES and brought it back in on Friday and couldn't take the prior overnight high. Do we consider this access or we come back down? So this is the SPX. If we look at the SPY, which is the ETF of the Fortune 500 company, it's a little bit similar story. You grab the nearest high from here, take that pointer, oops, computer grabbed that one, okay, take that one to the nearest high, which is this candle here, one more over, there we go, and you take the nearest low from here to the nearest high here. We are in a parallel channel. We have halfway back. Do we continue to this upper channel here, which is the higher high, or do we take on the weekly chart and draw the highs on the weekly, which is more narrower, and do we get a rejection? If I grab this candle here to this one here, you see the high is way lower than the prior one. Do we get to this one and get a rejection, or do we get to the higher one, which is parallel to these two? This is no longer valid. We can take it away. Remove this drawing. If you notice, we are in a cone, continuing higher, and this looks like a cup, and this is the handle. I don't know if we call this a shoulder because it was a rounded pan, couldn't come up. We rejected, came back up, we created a higher high, came back down and went higher. Do we get a rejection here? And this is what I'm going to do, put an oval on the SPY. Everybody remember, this is a weekly chart. Do we get a rejection on this upper channel or this one up here? My concern is this, because on Friday last week, which was over the weekend, I mean, we had this move up in the overnight and got a rejection. Be careful of this candle getting a rejection coming back down on that day. So let's go back, put a day, instead of an oval, we go back, put a channel. And remember, these are the cup and handle. Do we continue to get to this channel here, or the upper one, which is parallel to the one from the low? This is the weekly chart. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ QQQ, which is the ETF of the NASDAQ. Similar situation. If you notice, we can take these highs this way higher, but this cup and handle looks like there's a little bit left room in it, or do we get a rejection down? This is the QQQ. Let's take a look at the IWM, the small cap, which is the ETF. If you notice, we never had a high from low to high. We haven't been able to breach that 160 area. Do we continue? See, I have an oval here. Does this continue and eventually break the 160, which is 1600 in the Russell, or the ETF, which is the iShare of the Russell 2000? If we break above it, do we continue and go higher? Because I can grab this channel here to this one here. If you notice, does this continue to up here? We're going to do one more oval. I'm going to mark it with just gray color. Do we clear here to get to this channel and get a rejection, or do we get up to this area here? Okay, everyone? So this is something I'm considering on either side of the play, because if I draw a channel from here on the Russell going down, let's grab an oval, instead of the oval, a channel down on the IWM, and I draw it, we are hitting resistance on the weekly chart. And if you notice that, do we break that channel and continue, or do we get rejection? This is why I put it, this is parallel to this. Do we break up, come here, continue to this one, and finally clear the chart to the upside, or do we get a rejection and U-turn back down? Since we are in a down channel on the daily chart, it shows it as well. Let's just go back to the daily. This is the IWM. This is why I have this up channel and I have this down channel. If I do this on the daily chart, I can remove this one and redo it again, and I can show you that it gets a little bit more cleaner, the upside channel, and there it is up here. This is why I have this oval here. Do we break above this one, continue, or do we come back down? This is the IWM. Let's take a look at Goldman Sachs. Before we do equities, just let's take a look at the BANK. If you notice, the bank sector is in a similar situation. It's in a symmetrical triangle trying to break out. Let's go to the weekly. It's in a triangle shape. Does this continue to break up and go higher, or do we get a rejection on this down channel? What I'm going to do is grab this one here to this one here. This is the upper target. Remember, I had this oval here. We're going to remove this one here. And if we break this channel here, do we get to the 61.8? And I'm going to put an oval up there, okay, everyone? Or do we get a rejection and come back in? This is the bank sector. And let's take a look at the VIX/VX. The VIX, if you notice, every time it went up, came back down, went up, came back down, tried to go back up last week because of the Federal Reserve Board and the China tariff and all this noise. Eventually, it couldn't continue above that 20, rejected the 16, 17 area, came back to the 15 range, and we eventually fell through that 1550, which was my line in the sand, to hold the VIX up. If you noticed, if I take a channel from the middle of this range to down here, we're in the middle of that down channel cone. Do we hit the 38.2 fib of it and come back up? Let me do this. This is what I'm going to do. Grab this one in the middle and draw one wide in there. More or less, it's about there. There's one here and there's one up here, which is, the 38 or the 61 or 61 and 38. Does this hit here and U-turn or break through here and come back to the bottom? This is one thing you have to keep an eye on the VIX if there's going to be a change in the trend. On the daily chart, what I'd like to show you is this. Because on Friday, I tried to get some momentum to the upside, hit the 61.8 and got a rejection down. Does this hit this channel, or does it U-turn, come back, clear the 61, clear the 18 and 50 SMA, and come back to the 38%? If this U-turns, be careful of the market change in trend on the VIX. Let's take a look at Apple now, some equities, and I'll go to the futures at the end. AAPL. AAPL seems to be rounded. I'm worried about getting to this channel. Remember, we did this last week. We drew this channel up. I called this oval down here and this oval up here. Apple's still channeling at the 203, 202 area. Be careful if it loses the 202 or it clears the 205. Look for the upside 210 area. If not, look for the 195 area first. That's Apple. Amazon. Amazon doing the cup and handle, trying to break out of this prior that 1940, does this get to the up oval here or come back to the 18 SMA and the 50? Keep an eye on this oval if there's continuation to the upside in the market. If not, look for your reversal. Let's do BABA. BABA last week got to this oval, which we called, came back, got a rejection. Does it hold this channel up here, the 170 area, 174? If it doesn't hold the 174 area, look for the channel 170.92 and eventually fall back to the 18 and 38 at a consolidate. Does it do a cup and a handle, or does it get rejection? Can it continue back up to clear that 178? If it doesn't, be careful of it. That's BABA. Let's take a look at Facebook. Oops. FB. Facebook basically got to this 198, 199 area. It has to clear in order to continue higher because it created that roundness, created a rounded bottom, which is the cup. Does it continue higher? If it falls through, be careful coming back to the 50 SMA 185. If not, if it breaks this third time range, does it fill the gap to up here? Because this is, you see the gap here between here and here is trying to look for it between this area, the 78%. And 100% back out to the 215. This oval, what are we going to do is just edit it, remove drawing. We're going to create a new oval to look for the breakout and create a box or another oval up here. We're going to look for this one to break up. If it does, look for the continuation to the 210 area. If not, and it gets a rejection, look for the 38.2, which we're going to move this oval out of the way, remove drawing. And we're going to use the 50 SMA, the 38 and 50% down here. So this is the first target we'll look for, the 185 to the downside, okay? It's Facebook. Let's take a look at NFLX, Netflix should be chugging along, back and forth, trying to break out. We had this oval last week, and I said, be careful last week. Netflix looks to be strong. It actually cleared it. This is the oval I had up here from a couple of weeks ago. Remove drawing. Okay, so this 170 has to hold, 175, so we don't lose it. Okay, everybody keep an eye on the 174, 175. Be careful of it if it falls through. If we can clear this candle here and these candles here, which is this oval here, we're going to look for the upside in that chart to the top, because see this gap right here, we haven't filled it. Okay, everyone, that's 191.75, the low of it. If this clears it, we're going to look for the upside up here. If it doesn't and it falls through the market, we're going to look for the backside of the 360 area, 355, which we already have an oval here. We're just going to adjust it so you guys can see it. I'll zoom in. You see down here, we have that one here, which we're going to make it a little bit bigger and visible to everyone. Remove drawing, and we'll make it a little bit visible to everyone. Here we go. I'll use the 38% fib, which is the 165 to 360 and 355 area. So that's Netflix. Let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla is in a very critical area. They have this cone here drawn, but I have this up channel, down channel on the daily chart. It seems to be chugging. Eventually it broke up, but on Thursday it fell through. Remember, I had this target, watch for the breakout in it. They actually broke it up on a gap, professional gap, on Wednesday before the holidays, short week trading. Then on Friday they gapped it back down, couldn't come up. If the 18 SMA does not hold 225, 222, be careful of it. It does not make it to the 258, 260 area, and this is critical. We're going to remove this drawing, just adjust it a little bit more. Adjust it here. Come on. And we're going to, this one, be careful of it. You can see it. I'm going to adjust this 61.8, which is a little bit more thinner. Remove drawing. I'm going to call the 208. 202 area to the downside, and I'll put a little bit wider gap here on it. Yeah, there we go. This middle has to hold the 228 area. If it does not hold 228, Be careful of falling back to the 220 through that channel. Eventually, it cannot hold the 18 or the 50 SMA and it falls through. Remember, I called the, hey, be careful of Tesla breaking out, and that was a nice, push up in this area. You had the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday gap up, then the Thursday was a holiday, then Friday they brought it back in. So keep an eye if it holds to continue higher to up here. If it falls through, comes back below the 325, be careful, 328, be careful of it. Tesla, let's take a look at when. The oval that I called, there's not much here to do. I mean, there's a gap here. You have to watch this gap here. If it's going to continue up to up here, and if it falls through, look for the backside of this channel up here, the 127 area, 127.50, if it holds to continue back up. Let's take a look at the ES, Fortune 500 company. ES, Fortune 500 company, and I'm going to go to the weekly chart first of all. If you notice, we broke up, we got a new high here. I can take this little line here, which we're going to do instead of a channel, we're going to do a channel on it instead of an oval. Grab this candle here. Grab this candle high here. I'm going to grab this low here. I'm going to grab this low here. If you notice, this is parallel. If I zoom in, on the daily chart, we hit the oval that I called from before. We're going to get rid of this one down here. This no longer valid. It's too far away. Remove drawing. This may be still valid. Remove drawing. Okay, we're going to move this one up to the 50 SMA and the 38.2. Remove drawing. I'm going to use the oval down here. I'm going to adjust the stuff. And this is the oval on the 50%. 50 simple moving average, the 38.2 is right here. I think this is a little too far down. We're going to keep an eye on this area here, which we do not want to lose the 29.28 because it becomes very bearish, or the 18 SMA. So what I'm going to do, just put the oval right at the 25, 29.25 to 30 area, okay? This would be 100 point away from this area here, okay? Let's remove this one, remove drawing. The oval, remember we hit this oval, I called it, but we do still have room to go higher, you see it? If we lose this channel here, I have this channel here, you notice it from here to here coming up, and this is what I'm gonna mark. That channel here, this is very important. Do not lose the 29.60 area, 65 becomes very bearish and we can fall back through. So this has to either get access on the daily chart. What I'm going to do is show you on the 4-hour something that happened to this chart in the overnight action, which is very overnight action was holidays, and we fell through down to the 38.2 fib, and we got a nice bounce back up to the upside, and we closed in the middle of this congestion or the breakout from the Tuesday, Wednesday area. Remember, Thursday was a holiday. We didn't have trading except international markets. So what I'd like to do, this area here, I'm going to put a little tiny line on it, and I want everybody to be careful of it. This would be good for 2 days. Keep an eye on this area. See, I made it a little smaller. Keep an eye on it. So we do not want to lose the 29.82 in the SPY or the ES or the SPX, because if we cannot get this access up here, which happened in the overnight, because we do still have potential to go where? Higher to the upper channel that I marked up here, okay? But what I think is the 30 area is very important. We're going to mark it here. And this is what we're going to watch. If it doesn't make it up here, look for the rejection, okay? That's the ES. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. Slash Q. Go to the day. That I did last week on There's the NASDAQ, the cup and handle, we reached it, and I kept those ovals here. That's the NASDAQ. Do we get a rejection and come back in, or do we continue higher? Because the NASDAQ on the weekly looks totally different than the SPX or the ES. Notice that this is the cup and handle. If I zoom down, if you notice that this chart does not look like the ES, and here we go, I'll show you. See the ES a little stronger. Let's take a look at the Dow, YM. See the YM is just barely catching up. Finally got a new high, because this was 29,296 and this was 27,000. Let's take a look at the RTY, similar situation as well. If you notice, the RTY is a little weaker. It's like the IWM. This is the E-mini Russell 2000. Does this continue to go higher up here, break this channel to get to this one up here? Or does it continue to up here where we fell through? And what I'd like to do is mark it with an oval here, the RTY on the weekly. This is the first channel. Does it continue to up here? Because if the Russell continues and breaks the 1620 area, 1610, and continue up to finish, the 1640, this up channel, does it go up here, continue up, or does it get a rejection? Because you're in an open cone, the mid-range is here, on which you do not want to lose this 1550 area. 1550 is very critical, or the 1560, and you don't want to lose the 1500, because this has been range bound to continue higher. Does that break up and go higher? That's what I'd like to see. And let's take a look at CL, oil. Oil had, a nice move up, came back in, tried to go back up this week where the candle was actually a bearish candle. Let's take a look at it on the daily. It tried to recuperate on. Is it forming this cone? Is it forming like a wicked, like this is the shoulder, this is the head? Is this the shoulder to break up this box here? Remember, I had this box here. Let's just remove this drawing, which is the box. Rectangle, and I'm going to put an oval there to make it a little bit more visible to everyone. And what I'm going to do is look for this oval to break this area here. I'm going to mark it here. I know I made it very big because this is the channel, and the second one is up here, which is a 63 to continue higher. And this one here, what I'm going to do is remove this drawing. We're going to mark the other side. Remember, we broke out of it. We're holding the 18 SMA. We're up below the 50 and the 116 and the 200. If the 18 continues high and we don't lose this area here, the 57 area, 56, the 38.2, we have potentially to continue higher to come back up here. If we lose this one, then you look for the 61.8, which was the old oval that I had here, and we'll mark it here. Okay, so this is the oil play. I like to see the shoulder, the head, the shoulder. I know it's in a downtrend. This one is no longer valid. This was the breakout of it. Remove drawing. I know it's in a downtrend, but what you can do is take a channel here and draw it to the upside parallel to the other one. So keep an eye on the breakout or the breakdown. Let me grab this one here to this here, and this is parallel almost, in the midpoint of it would be here. You see it? This is the midpoint. That's why I have this oval. We want to hold the 18 SMA to continue, break the 50 SMA, break the channel, get up here to continue higher. If it does not, falls through this area, the 58 area, cannot hold the 57, 56. Look for the 50% fib, 61.8, before you can get any chance for a buyback, because this is the buy zone in here to look to halfway to come back up. If not, look the other way. And this is the BANK, just to show you one more utility index and the bank index. Okay, if you notice, we're in the down channel trying to channel out. If this is a breakout on the weekly chart in the bank, look up, and as well as this is the VIX ES, just to show you again what I'm looking at. Is there a change in the trend, break up or break down? And this is the ES on the weekly. So I would like to see to clear the overnight high continue to the 30 area before we can come back in, because there's a reason behind it, because I want to make sure we fix the top. It doesn't have to be fixed. Remember, it does not have to be fixed. Is it possible that 3006 never be revisited? That's something, to keep in mind and go from there. Hope everybody enjoys it. Look forward to seeing you at Solstice ATR. Have a great week and take care.